Anyway, after, a few years of lighthearted chit-chat with a guy here in the complex, I asked him where he was from. And he said Sri Lanka. And so I looked it up, and, I didn't know Sri Lanka, this was even here. I thought he was talking about some country in Africa or something like that. But the point is, as it relates to Taiwan and Cuba, is that if this was Russia or China, and this was United States military base like Taiwan, well, then there would be a dispute, because it would be seen as this is only a military base to point missiles into to India, or vice versa. And so it would be disputed. Well, it's not. It's not. Sri Lanka is kind of India, and vice versa. They're not at war with each other, because it has nothing to do with being on the border of Russia or China or the United States, like Cuba. Cuba is right next to the United States. Therefore, it becomes a military issue, as if Russia wants to send in missiles, which they did, nuclear missiles pointed at the United States. Okay, but here's a Taiwan. Here's a Taiwan. And there is no issue. There is no issue, because they are not involved in the dispute between Russia, China, United States. So they just do their thing. And Sri Lanka is pretty much the richest country down there. It's the highest per capita income, and they get along fine. They go back and forth. I asked him, I looked at this, and I says, is there a bridge? He says, no, you take a boat back and forth, because the bridge would be too goddamn long. But anyway, you get my point that all this bullshit going on, Taiwan or wherever, they could say, okay, let's do this. We're going to back off 10%. And it should be us that does it first. That we're going to back off 10%. Each 2 years, we'll go another 10% if things go well. And then everybody just backs off. Just backs off. After all, how many police do you need? That suppose Russia was to nuke the UK. Well, of course we're going to nuke Russia, because it'd be an attack on the world. So how many different police do you need? That Taiwan could be phased out and blended back into China, or part of it, like a state of China, where China doesn't go in, we're going to go in and kill everyone. No, but they could, become kind of blended in or whatever. But no, it's a military base. That's why the dispute. That's why the dispute is, because it's a U.S. military base where, tell you the truth, I don't know if Taiwan has nukes or not. But that's the issue. All the issues are because who is on the border of Russia and China and the United States? That you've got countries all over the place that get along just fine. And this is an example. So there's suppose this is China, well, there's Taiwan. Or, okay, let's say, okay, it's India, but then we move in to point nukes at India, or Russia does. China disputes this area up here. I'm not sure what that's all about in the mountains, but suppose China, well, we're going to befriend Sri Lanka. And then we're going to move in our gunboats and missile bases and stuff like that. Well, then India is going to object. And India is going to say, no, that we're going to take Sri Lanka into India. So you see the games they do, the problems going on trace back to the Cold War. A bunch of bullshit from a Cold War where countries got divided up, and it goes on and on and on. United States could do the same thing. Okay, we're going to back off by 10%. We're going to dismantle these missiles in this army base over here, right next to Russia or China or whatever. And if things go well, then each 2 years we'll go another 10%. We'll go another 10%. And everybody just backs off. Everybody just backs off. But they can't do it. They can't do it. And so these stupid wars are going on with nuclear missiles pointed all over hell and creation. How many police do you need? For instance, if since the United States is the policeman of the world, well, what if Russia decides to nuke the United Kingdom? Well, of course we're going to nuke Russia. Of course, so they won't do it. Vice versa. Of course they won't. And so with Taiwan, what if they go, okay, we understand what you're saying, that you don't like us being a U.S. military base with missiles pointed right across the water in full view of China, even though this country was part of China and could be said it's part of China. The people there are basically Chinese. But now that it's been established as a military base, it has to go. It has to go because it's a U.S. military base. I don't know if they have nukes or not. But anyway, you get the point. So Cuba, it's the same thing. That Cuba we have here. And, you know, there was no issues while we were getting our free sugar and stuff. No, we loved it. The problem came when Russia moved in. It says we're going to start placing nukes there. We're going to start placing nukes pointed right at Key West and Miami. Then the problem started. So these different countries, if everybody just backed off, that right next to another country's shores, you can't have a country that has declared war on whoever it is, whether this be Taiwan or China or whatever. If everybody just backed off, this nuclear garbage could be backed off 10% every 2 years as long as things go well. Okay, so you back off, it's 30 years from now, and everybody has backed off 70%. Well, all it takes is a couple of nukes. That there's no reason for everyone to be nuclear. If, like I said, if Russia goes, okay, now that you backed off, you've let your guard down, we all got 70% less, well, now we're going to nuke the UK because we're going to move in and take over. Well, of course we're going to nuke them. I mean, all this crap, these stupid wars going on is political bullshit.